Welcome to WTF Stories and Advice. I am Caroline Cranshaw, hypnotherapist and professional shit talker. And today, I am very pleased to have a special guest, the person who taught me how to talk shit, and among other many crazy things, my father, David Graybill.
Ta-da! Yes. Guilty as charged. Okay, Caroline wants me to talk about my rather colorfully misspent youth, and I do have a tale or two. We made a list, and the top of the list is the street light of death. Okay, as a warning, I just want to say to all your parents who have a young son, do not buy them a rifle or a gun, or don't even get them firecrackers. All right, you have been advised. Okay, this story takes place in Frankfurt, Germany. My father was an army officer, and we were stationed over there, and this is about 1962, yes. And for Christmas that year, my father, being a Georgia boy and, really into guns and shooting, decides I'm old enough to have a rifle. So he buys this very nice bolt-action .22 target rifle. And you couldn't use it for hunting. It was just too heavy.
And you were 11 years old?
No, I was 12.
12.
No, I was 13. Yeah,
you were 13.
1962.
Okay, so you're 13 years old. Your dad buys you this .22 hunting rifle for your Christmas or birthday?
This is for Christmas.
Yeah, okay.
All right. December 25th, 1962. Okay, so we're in Frankfurt, Germany, and we are in a gigantic housing area where we have these huge apartment blocks that we're in. And they're 4 or 5 stories high. There are 3 separate stairwells, and there are dozens and dozens of these. It houses thousands of American soldiers and their families. And we are ensconced in an apartment on the very first floor, and my bedroom was in the corner. Okay, I'm very thrilled that I have this rifle. My brother, who's about a year and a half younger than I am, is green with envy. And quickly after Christmas comes New Year's Eve, and my parents, they're going to go out to a New Year's Eve party, and I have been assigned the task of babysitting my younger brother and sister.
Was this the first time you were allowed to babysit?
Oh, no.
No. Okay. You've been babysitting.
I think it was the last time I was allowed to babysit my brother and sister. Okay. No sooner have my parents left to go to a New Year's Eve party than my brother said, okay, let's get the gun out and shoot it. And I said, hell yeah, we're going to do that. So, it's dark. It's winter in Germany. And open up my window, we get a bullet and put it in the gun, and I said, I'm going to shoot at something. And my brother said, no, I get to do the first shot. And I said, hell no. And he said, well, I'll tell mom and dad. And he always did that to me. I said, okay, you get the first shot, but I get the next one. And he goes, okay. I think we only had like 2 or 3 bullets. So right across the street is this great big street light. And my brother said, I'm going to shoot that light. Fine. So he takes aim and he fires. Well, this little .22 bullet strikes this street light and ricochets. And it goes up and strikes a picture window on the 4th floor of an apartment complex across from us where they're having a New Year's Eve party. Shit. So all of a sudden, here's the sound of breaking glass, people screaming.
And what about the street light?
And then all of a sudden, we look back at the street light. This was a gas light. And apparently the bullet hit the regulator. Then all of a sudden, it makes a big little puff of flame. Then all of a sudden, this flame, it's got to be 30 feet above the... It's all the gas coming straight out of this. It's got a flame that's at least 40 feet in the air above the bottom of the street light. And people are screaming and running around. Cars are slamming on their brakes. And I thought, God, we're done for. So we take the rifle and we hide it. and just, act like, well, we don't know anything. We're looking out the window at all this excitement. And then about 10 minutes later, there's a knock at the door. And I open the door, and there are 3 men there. One of them is in the military. They have private investigators referred to as CID, and their criminal investigation division. They're actually civilians, so they can't be outranked. And he looks just like something out of, Mickey Spillane. He looks like Sam Spade. Got the fedora and the trench coat. And then right next to him is a German police officer who looks just like a Nazi Gestapo. I mean, he even had a Luger. And then behind him is a German fireman. And their fire helmets were basically their World War II infantry helmets, but with a big leather sheath on the back. And I just take one look, and I turn around and point at my brother and said, "He did it. He did it. Not me. He did it." My brother never forgave me.
Snitched.
I ratted him out in a heartbeat.
Oh.
So my parents are called. They come back. The street light's still burning. They've got it turned down, and there's 100 people all milling around, and oh God! And my parents show up, and well, that was the last time I saw that rifle.
So you never even got to shoot it?
No, actually, it turned up while we were in high school.
Yeah.
And so my brother and I said, "Hey, let's go out and shoot some cans." We saved some cans and bottles and went out in the woods and we're shooting them. And my brother decided, "Hey, let's go hunting." I said, "Okay." So he's got the rifle and I'm scouting around, and he's about 20 feet ahead of me. And then he turns around, looks behind him, like towards me, and there's a lizard on a rock. And he just swings around and he fires the darn thing. Well, he misses the lizard, hits the rock. Bullet comes up, hits me right below the left nipple.
Oh.
And it didn't penetrate. I mean, it went through the skin. It didn't, kind of like stuck on the bone in my rib there. And
you have a scar, though, don't you?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, you've been shot.
Really, that's my Purple Heart right there. And so mothers and dad, don't buy your son a gun, okay? Even if you're in Wyoming or someplace like that.
So your brother fucked you twice, basically, with a gun.
I never really did get to shoot it after that. I mean, and then I remember I took it off to college and sold it right away.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much my adventure into guns.
But then, well, I happen to know that you have a very high-powered sniper's rifle.
Yes.
My brother, who was in the military, got very into guns. You guys would go shooting together, right? Right.
He was a hunter, and he was very much into long-distance shooting, starting at 400 meters in a quarter mile. And I'd go shooting with him, and I said, I have to do this because this will be another father-son activity. And, he was an adult at this point, and we had many activities when he was young, all the way from making models to paintball to hiking, things like that. And so I decided, well, I'm going to get myself a nice rifle, and it'd be fun. So I go to a very good, well-supplied gun store, and I'm looking around at some of the rifles, talking to the experts about what would be a good target rifle. And they said, well, here. So I take a picture of it and send it to my son, and he writes back, yeah, that's okay if you're into that kind of thing. A little snot. So I take another picture of a little better one. He says, yeah, I guess that will do. So I go, you.
He
turkey.
Knows how to play you, though. Like, hello.
So I said, okay, I want the best target rifle you have. And they go, step this way. He brings out this rifle. It's on a bipod. It's specially modified. It started out as a Winchester 700. And the receiver has been modified. The bolt was modified. A special barrel was put onto it. It's called an 5R barrel.
Widowmaker.
Yeah. He said, this is a sniper's dream rifle. It has a scope. It's a 16-power Zoom Leopold that is probably one of the most powerful telescopes you can buy. And I said, okay, how much is it? Well, let's just say it costs more than my beat up pickup truck. And I went ahead, yeah, I'm going to.
I want it.
I want it. And so I show up with that and I'm just shooting the hell out of my son. He just he can't group as far as I can. 400 meters, a quarter mile, that's, you can't see anything. So basically I'm putting 3 round groups into the diameter of a street light at a quarter mile with this gun. And it's just absolutely fabulous. Then he moved away and I have it in a safe and it's been there ever since. I'm just...
Should have brought it to New Zealand, Dad.
Oh, I like that. Carry on, yeah.
Don't mind me, yeah. I don't know if they'd like that.
No, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't.
And now he gives me big lectures about how I should never get a gun and don't get a gun and how terrible it is. And he has the top of the range sniper rifle. So go figure.
Well, I just bring it out for show. And I can't defend myself with it. It's more deadly if I throw it than shoot it because it's such a heavy weapon. Snipers who would carry a rifle like this carry a regular, say, an M4 or an M16 as personal protection. Then this sniper rifle would be in a special case that they would carry on their back. And if they were getting ready to shoot, they would then take it out. But they wouldn't carry it as personal protection.
Because it's just too long of a shot.
Yeah, it's a monster. It weighs a ton.
Now, one of my favorite stories is when you guys got a parachute.
Ah, yes. We were in Marin County. This is 1966. And not far from where we lived was Hamilton Air Force Base. And we would go over there because my dad was military. We could get on base. There happened to be a surplus store there. We'd go over and look at Air Force things. It was mostly desks and chairs and typewriters, that kind of thing. So Brother John goes over there one day, and he comes back with a complete parachute canopy. And he's going to hang it in his room because, summer of love. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. So I go back over there, and I'm digging around, and I find the harness that this parachute was attached to. So what they did is they took a pair of scissors, and they cut the riser lines, the strings off, at about 6 inches from the canopy itself. So I bought the harness and the risers were about, 12, 15 feet long, 3-4 meters right in there. Brought it back and said, hey, Brother John, look at this. So we took the parachute, laid it out in the driveway, stretched it out, put the harness right in the middle, and then very carefully took each riser string and tied it back to the 6-inch string left on the canopy with a nice square knot.
Of course.
So after about a half an hour's work, we had a complete working parachute. And so what we decided to do is that we had a nice 100-foot rope, and we would take it out to near the Marin County Civic Center. And at that time, it was just a road that went out to the bay. There was a creek there, and there's a straight dirt road that went out to the bay. We went out there, attached it, and one of us would drive, the other would fly. And we set it in such a way that the parachute canopy was tilted, and it would lift you right up. And the next thing you know, we're 30, 40 meters off the ground, and it's just really exciting. And then all we had to do was slam on the brakes, and you would just drop right down like a regular parachute. So I have to let all my friends know about this.
Of course.
At high school. I had taken some pictures, and that weekend, we had, 15, 20 of my best friends from high school out there. They want to go for a ride, and we're taking turns going for rides, and it's my turn, so I get in the parachute, and my brother takes off in my dad's station wagon, and he goes all the way down to the end, he stops, he turns around, and comes all the way back up, and just as we are approaching the beginning, I can see a Air Force Jeep with flashing red light and an Air Force ambulance with the sirens going and everything. They come flying down this dirt road where we all are. So my brother slams on the brakes. I float back down to earth, and I'm standing there with this parachute on thinking I'm totally busted. God, what can I say? So this MP gets out of the Jeep, walks over to me, looks at me, and just bursts into laughter. Just laughed. And I said, am I that bad? And he says, no. What happened is one of our jet fighters flew over, installed your canopy, and those colors, the orange, white, on the canopy, said, those are our colors. So he phoned in and said, one of our guys has bailed out. I can see his parachute. I said, oh. And he said, yeah, you have the parachute wrong here. Let's do this. And so they sat around for about 20 minutes and watched us fly. And apparently we had the harness, kind of something was backwards on it. And they fixed it up and then took off. And so I was absolutely a hero at work. At school, which was really fun. Then that weekend we did it up in a drive where we lived, on the street where we lived, and then a pickup truck came around the corner. We didn't see, and his mirror caught the canopy. Oh, shit. Just ripped the thing to shreds, and that was probably just as well. That's probably why I'm alive today. So,
were you in it, or was John in it?
I was in it. John was driving again.
You're lucky that you weren't seriously injured by that. My God.
Yeah, because the wind caused the canopy to rotate. It was rolling like a wheel, and then it rolled over in front of this pickup truck. And then he slammed on the brakes, but the mirror, great big mirror on this big old American pickup truck, just ripped it to shreds, and that was the end of that.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Oh, God. Yeah, I wonder if that's legal.
I don't see why it would be illegal. I would mostly wonder, is it stupid? Yeah, it's real stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's correct. Now, there's another good one that you used to tell from Germany when you guys projected something onto the wall. Tell us that one.
Okay, this is Germany, 1962. We're in a huge apartment complex that just went for square miles. There were thousands and thousands of servicemen and their family in these giant apartment buildings. It was called Plattenstrasse. And these buildings were 4 or 5 stories high, held dozens and dozens of families. And on the ends, they were perfectly flat, and they had 4 little tiny windows, which were the bathrooms on each one of the stories. So, Dad was a radiologist, and he was also an instructor. So his job was to train younger radiologists. So he had an unending series of every X-ray you can imagine, and he would trot these out, and during a lesson, he would go through all these X-rays, and he realized that everybody'd fall asleep.
It was boring.
Okay, yeah. Very boring topic. At the same time, Dad, I don't think he had a sense of humor. I used to tease him about it. I asked him, were you born with that one? Or was it shot off in the war?
What would he say?
He said, I don't see anything funny in that. So, I said, yeah, that's the issue. Okay, but to spice things up, these were slides, with the projector, the carousel projector in those days. He would have some little nudie pictures that he would put in every once in a while, about every 500 slides. They'd have this little pinup girl type of thing. Very modest by today's standards. And he had those in a separate little box, and he would just kind of spice the, wake up all the little lazy, sleepy, overworked radiologists that he was trying to train. But he had them in a special little box. Well, we found out where that special little box was, and we got hold of his really powerful projector. So, and now we had just moved there, and we were on the 4th floor of this big complex. So we took the projector into the bathroom and put it up in the window so that we could project onto the building across from us, which was the end of the building, the flat end of the building. It was this huge, blank, puce-colored, light tan building. And it was at night, of course, and there was a burnt-out street light on the corner. That's another story. So we get the projector going. We load it up with our little nudies. And when a car would come by, we'd turn the light out in the bathroom and then turn the projector on. And we'd be projecting this 30-foot nude woman onto the apartment across the street from us. And there'd be, people would slam on their brakes and get out and look around. And they'd go, yell, do it again. Hey, you guys up there, turn it back on. We'd turn it back on and turn it off again.
Well, I guess you were giving a lot of the passerbys a thrill. Did your father ever find out?
Yes, but not about that. What happened is that my brother decided that he'd give himself a personal slideshow. Now, the voltage is different in Germany. It's much higher. We needed transformers in order to run American devices. So he set up in one of the back bedrooms. Well, he set up in his bedroom this projector and had this little transformer on. It's a little transformer you might use for a record player or something. And we had this gigantic projector, and he put it on. And so he's watching, he's going through the little slides of the women. And he's not paying attention, but the transformer's overheating, right? And the next thing you know, the projector turns off, and he turns around, he looks, and there's flames coming out of the out of the transformer. So he totally panics, and he runs outside, and he goes over to a window, and he throws the thing out of the window, and we're on the 4th floor, right?
He throws the flaming transformer out the window.
Out the window. Well, it landed on the first floor balcony of Captain Fallon, whose wife was out there reading, so it came down like a meteor.
Just no! Thank God it didn't hit her. Oh my God! So John's in trouble again.
Yeah, he's in trouble this time. But yeah, that we never saw the nudie flicks again. And
what about? And there was another one where you would almost cause car accidents. Remember that?
Yeah. We would go to the movie theater. It was an American movie theater called Idlewild. And like other movie theaters, they would have cardboard cutouts of the stars of coming attractions. And when that movie came and went, they would just throw away the cardboard. Well, they threw one away. It was Cary Grant. It was a life-size cardboard cutout of Cary Grant. It had even a stiffener in it so, it wouldn't collapse. We thought that was pretty cool. So we took that back with us. And so we thought, well, we can have a lot of fun with this, especially at night. So what we did is we had a long twine. It was just a heavy string. And we stretched that across the road, the little main drag that went through the big apartment complex. And then we would, we attached it to Cary Grant cardboard. And then we'd wait for someone to come along, and then we'd pull the strings in such a way that the cardboard would pop straight up, of Cary Grant right in front of the car. And here's somebody going, 35, 40 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, the cars would just go screaming all over the place. Wheels, they'd drive off the road and whatnot. We did it just a couple of times. And then one guy started chasing us, and that was the last. I think he came back to his car, and he took the Cary Grant cutout with him, and that was the last time we saw that.
Oh, no. Oh, God. You're lucky you didn't kill anybody or get killed.
We were having good, clean fun.
So you said something about starting to tell me a story, and then you stopped and said, okay, we'll save it for this if you want to do a podcast. And it's the story of my grandfather going golfing. So what is that? I haven't heard this story. This is new.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is in the late 1950s. And my father's stationed at the military academy, West Point in New York, about 50 miles due north of New York on the Hudson River. Very beautiful place. He was basically an instructor there. He was training Army doctor. He had combat experience in Korea, so it was a very nice. It was a plush assignment, and one of his favorite Saturday afternoon activities was to watch golf. There was a very nice golf course not far. It was right next to the silver bullion deposit, which is like the Fort Knox, but for silver. And big, beautiful golf course. So I would ride out there on my bicycle. I think I was 9 or 10 years old. And I would ask somebody, would they like me to caddy for them? And I could make $1 or $2 in the afternoon, which was a tremendous amount of money for a 9-year-old in 1959. And just carrying their bags around. I didn't know the first thing about golf. I didn't say anything. It was just Army officers golfing, and they were fun to listen to. They were very interesting people, and just really enjoy it. And then one afternoon I came back and I had $4 I had made. As I showed my dad, and he goes, well, son, he was from Georgia. Well, son, that's I'm mighty proud of you making money like that. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I go over to the golf course and I caddy. And, well, I think I'll try my hand at golf. I've been considering it. And so he goes, there's a neighbor who has the world's oldest set of golf clubs. It's in this canvas bag that's rotting. And so my dad buys them for a few dollars. And that next weekend, we go golfing. So we drive out to the golf course. I show him where to start. And he tees up. 3 swings, he doesn't even hit the ball. Finally, he hits the ball, and I think, it goes way off.
Well, he doesn't even know how to play, right?
He's never had a lesson. He's never done it before, but it looks so easy.
It does look easy, but it's not.
Yeah, when you're watching Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus and the others, it looks real easy. So he's just having a terrible time. And we battle through about 5 holes, and then he is just pissed as hell. So he's ready to tee off on about the 6th hole, and he said, I'm going to really clobber this when you watch this, son. So he gets the ball all teed up, and he lines up, and he's wiggling his ass, and he's looking off in the distance and back at the ball, looking off in the distance. He winds up, swings as hard as he can. He hits the ball just perfectly, but because it's an old wood, it just explodes. The golf club head just explodes. Fragments. I mean, it literally broke into like 5 or 6 pieces. I could see, coming unglued and falling, but the head exploded. And of course, the thing had to be turn of the century. It had to be, like Civil War quality. And this, now he's absolutely furious. And he just starts screaming, cussing. He takes the shaft, throws it there's a little lake there. Then he grabs the whole bag. The whole bag of these worthless clubs and throws them into this pond. He's just absolutely furious. And so, and I'm practically crying because I don't know what's going on. So we storm back to the car, and he gets the car and thinking, oh, damn. So we get back out of the car, walk back to the pond. He wades out into about 3 feet of water, reaches, pulls the bag up, gets his car keys out. Throws the bag back in and goes back home. And that's the last time Leon David Graybill, Colonel United States Army, MD, ever played golf.
That's, I have never seen him lose his temper.
You never saw him play golf.
Well, speaking of losing tempers, the story, I've told this story, I'm sure, on the podcast. And I tell it to other people as well. The first time I ever saw you lose your temper. And when I was a child, you were a manager of an apartment building, correct? A large apartment building.
Yes, It was 22 units. 22
units. And, I would say they were not high-end apartments. It
was fairly average. They were clean. Average.
But anyways, so we would go around and collect the rent. I would go with you. And I remember we went up to this door, and you were always, I considered you very calm as a child. And we go up to this door, and you knock on the door, this guy opens it up, and he's like this biker dude, like huge guy, well over 6 foot. He's in a vest. I just remember he had hair in a ponytail and tattoos, and he's scary looking, and you're like, hey, I'm just here to collect the rent. And he's like, fuck off. And he fuck you, Dad, shuts the door. And you just like look at me, and then you knock Knock, knock, knock. And the guy's like, I told you. Opens the door. Fuck off. No, no, no. And you were like, rah! And you literally ripped the buttons open on your shirt. And you were like, fuck you, motherfucker. I will fucking end you. You give me that fucking money right now. And the guy's like, dude, cool off, man. What the fuck? Your kid is here, And I'm like, Dad. And you were like, give me my fucking money. And so the guy runs like, okay. He runs and gets the money and gives it to you. And he's like, yeah. And so the guy shuts the door. And I'm like, Daddy. And you're like, crazy always wins, Caroline. Remember that. Crazy always wins. And it was this pivotal moment for me, realizing that if you don't get your way, you just act like a fucking crazy person. And normally people back off. Yeah.
Well, I've always considered anger a tool more than an emotion. And, well, the one correction is that he wasn't muscular. He was kind of a skinny guy, he looked like a junkie to me. And one of the problems was I was certain he was growing marijuana in one of the bedrooms because it was blanked over, and I had the authority to inspect each apartment once a year to make certain they weren't doing significant damage, or there wasn't a leak in the ceiling they weren't telling me about, or something like that, just to make certain the property is maintained correctly. And he wouldn't let me come in. He had a girlfriend living there, and she was absolutely terrified that I would come in. So I knew something was going on, but I didn't want to push it. Now, he was kind of a skinny guy, and I think most of what I did was because you were there. And I didn't want you to think that this skinny, tattoo-ridden rat of a man was going to, get the best of your dad. And to be honest, it was a Western shirt, and they were snaps. So.
Yeah, it's funny how you remember stuff. I just remember he was definitely taller than you. He was taller than you. So, yeah. But, I mean, I'm 5 years old, so everyone seems enormous to me at that point. But, yeah, funny. It was, it's... That reaction has helped me several times in my life as well. I try to be much calmer now. But, yeah, I mean, and I think you've said to me at other times, well, you go crazy, you shit in your hand and you throw it at them. It's just like, Dad, have you ever shit in your hand and thrown it?
No. Yeah, with a glove on. With your latex, powder-free glove. No, but my granddad was he was of Scottish descent. His parents were from Edinburgh, and he'd always say, "Son, it's much better. We're Scots. Oh, we're Scots, and it's much better to lose teeth than to lose face." And so as a little kid, I kind of like backed down from a few fights because I knew I wasn't going to win, and I always felt bad that I didn't go to the mat knowing full well I was going to get the crap beat out of me. And so when this came along, it's like, okay, I'm going to lose teeth here, and that's fine. And it worked.
It did work. Oh, no.
It's better to be respected. It's better to be feared than disrespected.
Okay, I'll take your word for that, Dad. There's another story with John of his foray into gardening.
Oh, yes, his horticultural adventure.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay, here we are. It's the summer of love. It's 1967, and my parents finally bought their very first home. If you're in the Army, you really can't buy a home because you move every 3 or 4 years. They bought a beautiful home in Marin County. They had a beautiful patio in the back, and every Sunday when we were all there, Mom would make a nice brunch for us. It would be eggs Benedict and orange juice and very gourmet, very wonderful breakfast, and we'd all be in our pajamas. And so here's one Sunday, we're all sitting there, and my dad, in his pajama and robe, he decides he's going to water some of the plants there. Very nicely landscaped, terraced landscaping with retaining walls. And so he's watering one of the plants, and it just happens to be my brother's prize marijuana plant, which is about 3.5 feet across, about a meter across, meter high. It's just a beautiful plant. Just my brother was so proud of it. My father had no idea what it was. Now, my mother, being an Alabama girl, knew all about marijuana because it basically grew on the roadsides. And they would smoke it every once in a while, but because the wild marijuana had virtually no punch to it at all. And so my mother says to my father, she's from Alabama, while he's watering the plant, she says, "Now, David, now you realize you're watering a marijuana plant." And my dad, I don't think he's shitting his pants, but I definitely farted. And he's, "What?" And my brother's like, "Oh, Mom, don't mind. Mom, I'm a colonel in the United States Army. This could ruin my reputation. Oh, my goodness." So he runs off to the side of the house. He comes dragging back the trash can. And these are those big old metal tin ones that just sounded like, it just sounded like the cavalry were coming. They were so he takes the trash can, turns it upside down, dumps all the trash out, rips the marijuana plant out by the root, puts it in the garbage can, while my brother is in tears practically, then takes all the garbage and puts it right back on top of it and packs it down and getting ready to pull it back. My mother said, "Now, David, you realize that when the garbage man comes and dumps the trash, that marijuana plant will be on top." So he dumps everything out again, takes half the trash, puts it in, squashes the marijuana plant, and then puts the rest of the trash on top of it and drags it back. Comes back, washes his hand, and finishes his Eggs Benedict, and as if nothing happened at all, other than watch my brother just turn red with fury.
John and his gardening. Yes. So, well, I think that wraps it up for today. We will definitely do some more at another time.
Oh, you come from a very interesting family, and I have some testimonials for you.
Yeah, we'll have to tell next time the one about how my grandmother, your mother, invented a type of explosive.
Yes, she was a chemist. And she graduated with honors in chemistry from the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And she had a job offer before she even graduated. She was, her grades were so well known. She went to work right away, and this is she graduated in June. Of 1941, went immediately to work for DuPont in Atlanta, Georgia, and quickly became the supervisor for the laboratory. And their job was, everyone knew the war was going to start here pretty soon, to develop new formulas for explosives and improve on existing explosives. Now, December 7th, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. The war began in earnest, and my father was just completing his first year of medical school. And he also, a holder of a degree in chemistry, was then tapped by the War Department, as the Defense Department was known then, to immediately leave medical school and report to the DuPont Munitions Laboratory in Atlanta, Georgia, where he met my mother. So they spent most of the war improving formulas for plastic explosives, TNT, Comp B, Comp C, these explosives, and they would work on the formulas. And then every Friday, they would drive their formulas out to the quarry with different pieces of metal and things, and then blow things up to examine the the power of the explosives. So growing up, our dinner time conversations were the difference between Comp C and Comp D, and what's the better, TNT or dynamite, and what really is TNT. It's actually a plastic explosive. It's one of the first. And so, it's lucky I didn't really care for chemistry. Because I did major in chemistry for 2 years, and I always thought about explosives, but I did resist the urge.
Yeah, so it's a good thing you're not a sociopath or wanted to kill anyone, because you probably could have figured it out.
Well, we were considering making our own LSD, but fortunately...
Yeah, that could go terribly wrong.
Really.
You shouldn't really make your own drugs.
No. If I had, I'm certain I'd be sitting here with a dribble cup.
So, well, that's us for today. If you like this podcast, please rate us and review or recommend it to your friends. We'll be back next time with more stories and more advice with Daryl Gove, the other hypnotherapist I've been doing the podcast with, and have a great day. And hopefully you enjoyed these stories as much as I do. Bye. There goes a sight from my soul.